Welcome to Advocacy and Hope. I am Amy Post, your host, and I thank you so much for joining us. This is a little bit different than we've done before, so I started doing the live streaming, which has been super fun and really very impactful. This is not going to be perfect. This is something we're just having fun with. But I really appreciate your time today because you guys get a lot of stuff coming at you every single day. And I'm just so appreciative of the support that we've had for Advocacy and Hope. And if you're tuning in for the first time, my group started after my daughter was diagnosed with malignant liver cancer almost 10 years ago. And I suffered from anxiety, self-isolation, a huge amount of trauma, fear, bullying, lots of different things. And I just recently wrote my first book that launched in May. It's Out of the Gray into the Light. It's a mother's memoir of advocacy and hope. And that is where Advocacy and Hope really stemmed from. We bring incredible individuals onto the show to really just tell their story and relate to you. But this is a really safe place. This is a place that you can come and get education, resources, but you can find encouragement, hope, joy, empowerment. And that's what it's for, because the guests that I have on, they can relate with me and they can relate with you. And I think telling our story and talking about things is one of the most healing opportunities that we have. But if I would have started or stopped my journey when I was bullied and family bullied me for talking about it and for asking questions, I wouldn't be here today. And I have completely changed my thought process and what I do. And my guest today is just amazing. And I have had the chance to get to know this guest over the past, I guess, about 9 months. And she is just spectacular. So without further ado, Tammy, thank you for joining. Today we have Tammy Delaney-Plugowsky. She is with us, and her whole thing and her company is around Breathworks and heart breath. And I don't know if any of the audience out there has heard of it. And if you have, that is fabulous. If you haven't, you are in for just an incredible experience this morning, because I actually had the opportunity to do a heart breath, a Breathworks with Tammy almost 2 weeks ago. And it was the most powerful thing that I've ever done. And I've been looking and doing different things for stress and trauma, and really just kind of relinquishing the guilt and the anger. So whatever you are struggling with, I think this can help you in so many ways that you might not be aware of, because I was a little standoffish. And I love things that make me uncomfortable, because I always wonder why that makes me uncomfortable. So after doing it, I'm a huge fan. So Tammy, I can't wait to kind of dive in. Thank you for coming on the show today. And let's dive right into kind of your background and your story, because I want people to be able to hear your incredible story. And I think they're going to relate so much to you on your background and why you chose this, and then changing your entire career. It's just a great story.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for inviting me on your show, Amy. I'm so excited to be here and for your viewers to be a part of this conversation. So thank you. Long story short, I come from a pretty dysfunctional family life, which is where my sort of big T traumas sort of originated. And that's important to the story, because those events in my early formative years really impacted me as I grew in my career. So from a professional standpoint, I went into nursing because I felt like I wanted to fix and help other people, because I really wanted to fix and help myself. But I went into nursing as my first career, worked into public health, went into emergency management. And then when I got to the federal government in Canada, I ran some pretty big programs, including the National Stockpile for the country, and did a number of really big portfolio things, worked my way up to the executive cadre. So that's sort of my career path, if you will, in like a Coles Notes version. But what happened during that path was what's important, and what led me to breathwork and to heart breath, is that in my executive / leadership roles, I found myself experiencing a number of episodes of burnout, of stress, of anxiety. I had a lot of anxiety attack sort of symptoms. My blood pressure started to go up. I started to gain weight, and I was starting to feel really imbalanced and out of control. Like my life felt completely out of control. I had built this beautiful life around me of a house in suburbia with my kids, and we traveled to Disney. We did all the things, but and my soul knew that something was sort of needed attention. And so I started looking. I started looking at coaching as a modality so that I could honor my ethics, my values, and my core self, and got excited about that and decided, you know what, I'm going to leave my corporate job and become an executive coach. But even as an executive coach, as I was coaching clients, I still had this lingering itch that inside of me was the little Tammy that was injured back in 3 to 10 years of age and so on, needed attention. And so I have a colleague who's now my mentor, Loretta Cella, who does heart breath. And I thought, oh, I'm going to reach out to her and I'm going to see if this is something I could utilize. I've gone to therapy. I've done the head talk. I had benefits from that, but I just felt like I was stagnated. I had hit a sort of a ceiling on my healing, if you will, a ceiling in my healing. I love that. And so I went to her and said, is this something that can help me? She said, absolutely, try a session. And I tried a session of heart breath, which was a full 60 minutes at that time. Now she does 75 and I do 75 as well. And when I came away from that session, I was so transformed and so enamored with the process that I absolutely knew in my gut, one, this was not only going to help me really tap into those places and spaces where I was holding the trauma in my body, that it was beyond my brain, it was in my body and soul and my heart, and that this was going to be a process, because that first session was really hard for me. It was a lot of emotional release. It was a lot of discomfort. But as I did it over and over and over again, I realized how much more I was releasing and how much less stress I was feeling during the day afterwards. And so I continued with it, and I decided I can't just do this. I have to share this. So I asked her, I said, do you have a program? And she says, yes, I do actually. So I joined her cohort. I'm just about to finish her process now in July. I'll be officially certified in July. But this is exciting work because heart breath is so transformational because of how we're leveraging your systems, your neurological systems, to tap in to those places where we store pain and suffering and anxiety. And so for me, bringing this to the world is now my new passion. And so I'm actually rebranding. I'm doing a whole new shift of my business around this, because my typical avatar, someone I work with, are executive leaders. That's who I typically love to work with. However, I work with all sorts of folks around this notion of connecting with yourself and releasing what needs to be released and welcoming in what needs to be welcomed in, because a lot of times we have stories that don't allow us to welcome in as well. So very Cole's Notes, but that's sort of my story. I was raised by narcissistic parents who were very abusive. I repeated the whole thing again for 10 years with an abusive boyfriend in my early 20s, mid 20s. Finally left that, and now I'm in a healthy relationship. But it's just part of the process, right? Yeah. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell.
I mean, I absolutely love it. I think it is just something so many people can connect with for so many different things. There's not one thread that I think everybody is going to jump on. I talk about, advocating for yourself and for others, but truly advocating for yourself can be that self-healing and self-awareness and doing things for yourself. I love getting outdoors and nature and things like that. There are a lot of different things that you can try.
Yep.
I tried going to counseling for many years, and I'm not saying that counseling isn't great. You can find wonderful, wonderful counseling, and I do think that that is important. But I also think that we have to go additional steps to really release it, and joining others to just find out what's available out there. So I want to tell everybody, what you spoke about is so very true, because I didn't honestly know how much it was going to impact me before I did the session. And I wasn't really sure what it was going to awaken and what it was going to do. I was just really being very open-minded. One, I think it's really important for people to want it, and they, want to be open and want to take that step to do this.
Yeah.
And the session that I had with you, Tammy, I had told you right afterwards, I just had such incredible emotions. And then all of a sudden I released something or someone that I didn't really even know that I was going to release, that I needed to release.
Yeah.
It was a friend who had just completely written me off and chose never to speak with me ever again. And it was probably one of the most heart-wrenching things I've been through. And after all of the trauma that I had gone through with my daughter and self-isolation, and honestly, I self-isolated in my glass castle, and then coming out and going, oh my goodness, this is such a great person and great individuals. I found myself completely burned again.
Mhm.
And that first session was, uh, it's mind blowing. And it was so healing. Now, right afterwards, I was still pretty emotional. I was still pretty kind of walking around the house, just shaking my hands, going, I can't believe this happened. But I released that person from my life. And I now can't even remember what that person looks like.
That's
And so it's
amazing.
really
That's
neat.
what an amazing testimony to this work, though, that you were able to go in deep. What's really interesting about what you just said is that I often hear, and I've done dozens and dozens of clients now, I often hear, "I did not expect what came up to come up." And it's very interesting because your subconscious mind knows what needs to come up, but your conscious mind refuses to allow it to come up.
Mhm.
And so what this breath work does through the conscious connected breath pattern that we use, it's a 2 in 1 out breath pattern. What it does is it bypasses that mind, that logic, and it gets into the body. And when we leverage the heart, so just a little bit of science behind this. So a lot of people think that this is woo-woo when we talk about this stuff.
Yeah.
The reality is that if you go to Heart Math Institute, they've been doing research on the connections of the heart, the mind, and the body for decades. And so there's tons of research out there around this that demonstrate that when you connect to your heart through your breath, because your breath is the bridge between the mind, body, and soul. When you connect to your heart through your breath, you experience all sorts of benefits, greater sense of wellness, decreased blood pressures. Like there's a number of physical modalities that will come out of this.
Mhm.
But what's really important around this is that your heart holds neurites, over 40,000 of them, which are very similar to brain cells. And so your heart has its own intelligence. It has its own ability to assess a situation based on feeling. So you'll remember a traumatic situation in your brain. You may even remember some of the details, but your heart will remember all the feelings that came along with that. And so when, sometimes when you'll be in a room and you'll meet somebody or you'll be in a situation where you're like, I don't know why I feel anxious in this situation. I logically don't feel anxious, but for some reason my body's reacting. It's because your heart remembers. Your body somatically remembers, and your brain has logged out whatever caused that anxiety release. It's the same thing why people have repressed memories in their minds, and yet when they experience certain sounds, smells, they react physically. It's because your body remembers. So with this breath work, we're tapping into that through the neurological systems. And in fact, one thing I do want to say around the psychological piece around mental health, especially, there is an entire sect of psychology right now that is reassessing how we do therapy sessions, because therapy sessions, cognitive behavioral therapy, has its place and is most certainly very appropriate in some circumstances. However, I found for myself there was a limit to what CBT could do for me, and in the somatics. And so there's a whole host of folks doing research right now on how psychology, the way we do it today, can now be connected to somatics. And if anybody listens to Dr. Mindy Peltz's podcast, she recently had someone who does exactly what I do. And that's exactly what they were speaking about, is that in the science world, they're actually reviewing this work. So all to say, I just want to support that for those of you who are maybe on the fence around this, like thinking, oh, I don't know, I'm too logical for this kind of thing. This seems very, I don't know, pie in the sky stuff. It's actually based and rooted in science. So I just want to remind people of that going forward. We are gently going back into the very system that was traumatized when you experienced the trauma. We are gently doing that through breath, and we're going exactly back to the same bad highway in your mind and forcing the body to sort of make some decisions around what it wants to release. It's pretty
I
amazing.
agree. Counseling for me was good, like you said, but I hit the ceiling of it. And I also had anxiety before I would go, I would be driving and have huge amounts of anxiety driving to the counseling session.
Yeah.
And then away from the counseling session, I had to go home and lay down.
Yeah.
I couldn't manage what had happened. I wasn't getting anywhere that I felt was really healing for me. And I got more bullying from my family. I got more bullying of it was my fault. I wasn't being open-minded. And I thought something was wrong with me. And then I self-isolated even further because my family, and I'm not saying that anybody else has gone through this, but if there are individuals out there that have really been, I think, shunned or bullied, or you just try different things. And this is something, like I told you, Tammy, it was life-changing for me. But counseling, like I said, you can certainly find those great counselors out there. For me, it just wasn't getting me where I really wanted to be. It wasn't getting me over this wall that I needed to be over. I wasn't able to get to that place where I could really start getting rid of the anxiety. The anxiety continued to follow me for 10 years. And I couldn't understand why I was doing all this therapy, and I couldn't seem to get further. I couldn't seem to get to the side where everybody said, you just need to go more. You just need to pay attention more. You need to read more books. You need this, you need this, you need this. We all need something specific to us, but I will guarantee you, if you will try this, you may have just a wild experience on the first one, and just something like I did that it changed my life. I needed to get rid of this, but I didn't even realize that I needed to do this. So kudos for you. And I thank you for putting some science around it, because I think, I live in the world and have, of clinical data, and it's data, data. But I also think you have to take a step out of that. Give yourself grace. Give your mind the ability to really think about something else that might work. And when you put yourself in that quiet kind of dark space and start doing this session with Tammy, it honestly can go anywhere that you need it to go. And I really think that we need to be trusting our bodies more to heal us than, all the medications and all of the different, a quick fix. This was actually a quick fix for me. So anybody out there that needs something that was pretty powerful in the first session, I'm going to give it to you as well. It was a quick. I was like, wow, I'm pretty hooked.
Yeah, there's some pretty good wins in this. And actually, I had a client say to me, I didn't expect it to be so spiritual. And yet it was for me, which is weird, because I'm not a particularly, I'm a very spiritual person, but I'm not religious or anything. But she's like, I just didn't expect that. The one thing I'll say also is, the one last thing I'll say about therapy is that, to me, it felt like I was trying to fix the motor by addressing the brakes in the car. You're trying to out logic the part of your body that is hurt. And you can't fix feelings with thoughts. You can't. And so for me, I had to go into the feelings. And the way I do that is through breath and connection to my heart, which is where the feelings are remembered, really. So that's why these sessions are so powerful, because, and then I curate music to it. It's a whole experience, right? It's not just talking and that kind of thing. So yeah, it is very powerful. I am super excited to be sharing this modality with the world, and to really start to affect positive change in people and sort of enable their healing. I am not a healer. I'm enabling them to heal, because you have the ability. Every single one of us is whole. The problem is that wholeness gets fragmented when we experience negative things. So the goal is to reintegrate your wholeness through this breath work. It's reconnecting with those parts of you stopped accepting or you've decided to reject.
I think that's really important for people to stop and really take a moment today to think about what that means in their life.
Yeah.
What are they dealing with that maybe has been brushed underneath that rug? I grew up in a household where you didn't talk about anything. You just put it underneath the rug and you moved on, and don't ever talk about it again. And if you do, you're the weird one. You're the one that people don't want to be around. Oh, we can't be around Amy because she just wants to talk about these things, and I was one that I am a very emotional individual. I like to talk about things. I like to move through things. I don't put my head in the sand. I talk and discuss things, but I think the thing with counseling for me, there were beneficial parts. I did read some excellent books and I was connected with some great physicians. But for me, I couldn't verbalize correctly what I was feeling until I was able to do that breath works with you and my body was able to just take it out of me. I didn't want to deal with that emotion that came out of me that day. It was too painful and this person wouldn't give me closure. And so I think for a lot of us out here, I think that happens a lot. If you're dealing with something, maybe you didn't get to have closure, whatever that closure means. I don't get closure with my daughter. We're revving up for the next 2 possible cancer diagnoses in her life. And I need something that just allows something bigger than what my brain is kind of functioning at that daily rage to be able to come in and I think bring some of those emotions that we don't even know are still there, that we're holding on to so tight. But in counseling, sometimes it can be very painful to stir them up again. And then they're all stirred up and we walk out and we haven't really done anything with those emotions. They just stirred the pot and got us thinking about it. And so I think that what you're doing is transformative. I think one of the greatest things that we can do is really open our minds and be very aware that something like this, I mean, it honestly could help anybody out there that's dealing with something. And, I look at a lot of people I talk to now. When I first started the podcast and really, started writing my book, I was speaking with people who, had children that were diagnosed with cancer or diseases and really trying to help the parents more. And that's what I'm still doing a lot. But it doesn't even have to just be with something that you're dealing with your child. And so I've really opened that up to, we all just take so much baggage with us. And baggage is not a bad thing. I'm not saying that it's a bad word. It's just this baggage that we don't want, to handle or to deal with sometimes, or we're trying and we just don't have a good release system.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is the release system. I think, especially as moms dealing with things around our kids, we tend to hold a lot of that in because we have to be strong for our kids and the circumstances they're going through. And back to what you were saying at the very beginning of the show, if you're not finding time and creating a priority situation for yourself to take care of yourself, you're actually not going to be resilient enough to do just that. So in a way, being selfish is being selfless, because you need to go in, take care of yourself, really do the healing so that you can show up in the way that you really want to show up, the way your values and ethics want you to show up. The reality is, and I know you've experienced this and I've experienced this, is that you get burnt out and you just can't function the way you want to function. So doing this kind of work, whether it's with a guided group therapy or whether it's something you do individually on a daily basis, there's modalities, things you can do to support yourself. And I 100% encourage that, because we're humans having a human spirit having a human experience, physical experience on this planet. So we're going to be going through a lot. And so we have to find ways to support ourselves through the process. This is just one way that you can do that. And it just happens to be very powerful.
I love that this came out of your trauma and what you had been through, and that you made it a positive, great thing out of something, that could have just been held inside you all of your life and been a negative, barrier that held you back. And for anybody out there, and I talk about it in some of my different podcasts and different sessions, and we're going to really start diving into it with the community that is launching this week. If you have a burning or passion or something, just something inside of you that's saying, I am burned out, I really want to do something else. And if there's something that is triggering you at all and you have a story, I really welcome you to come into the community. Tammy's going to be in the community and coming in, doing some different things with the Breathworks. And I think we're going to really talk about all kinds of different things around this. It's going to be so exciting. But come into the community, ask your questions. I do have a lot of people right now that are asking questions that are online with us, which I really appreciate that. But I am here to offer that safe place. We are offering this wonderfully safe place for you to tell your story. And if there is something that you're wanting to do in life that's just not exactly what you're currently doing, but you're not happy and you're not sure how to get there, it sounds like we can both relate, because if you'll just move forward with your passion and do your passion, I guarantee you, you'll have a huge success.
Yeah.
But it won't be without resistance.
Yep.
Before I did that Breathworks with you, Tammy, I had such resistance over the last so many months of no one is going to appreciate my story and it's not worthy. And of course, I had been told that by my family in the beginning.
Right.
It was 1 month in after my daughter and I got out of the hospital after she was diagnosed with malignant liver cancer. And then a week and a half later, we were told by the genetics team that she had a rare genetic cancer gene, and it was doom and gloom. Here's your, stack of 12 inches high of what's going to happen to you. Here's your life pretty much just right here. And I couldn't have had more of a doom and gloom and living, going through the valley of death.
Yeah.
But I had family members that were telling me that if I continued to talk about it, people wouldn't like me.
Mhm.
And why are you doing this? You just need to be quiet. If anybody out there is having those types of things said to them or feeling that inside, I just really welcome you to come in and do these breath works, really kind of dig deep and know that this is the next step to transforming your life. And I think that there's no greater time than today, because you don't want to look back in a year and wish that you would have done it today.
Yep.
and done something like that. So I stand up, I advocate for myself, for others. It's not apparent in this world how to advocate for yourself at all. We're
Right.
just not taught that at all. We're just told, just do what you're told. We're not taught, how to think. We're told, what to think. And it's a very tough world right now to live in. So I love this. We've talked about it a lot, and I think people can resonate with, both of us, but especially you kind of hitting that ceiling, and your burnout and being stagnant and the anxiety and the weight gain. I mean, I bet there's tons of people out there that'll probably start pouring in on the responses, but it is real. Those are real feelings. They matter. You can do something about it. And your sessions are just, they're so easy to prepare for, and they're so easy to go through because you're just relaxing. I was relaxing on the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't anxious for the first time coming into something. I wasn't anxious. It was just a great feeling. So is there anything else that you want to tell people? Because I know before we started this, we talked about doing like a 5-minute heart field experience. Do you want to kind of take people through a few minutes of what you do and really just kind of give them a little sneak peek?
Sure. Now, this has absolutely no contraindications to this. Anybody can do this. Whereas the breathwork session itself, there may be some, because we are activating your breath. However, with this one, I think it's 5 minutes. You can do this breath. I would say in the mornings, if you want to set your intention for the day, anytime during the day when you're feeling stressed out, or alternatively, if you just want to have a bit of gratitude at the end of the day and you're resisting being thankful for something, this is a really good way to do this. And it's just connecting with your heart through your breath. It's very simple, and it's all parasympathetic, meaning it calms you, not activates you. So if you want to join Amy, I would welcome you to do this. So basically, for those that are watching, listening, or on replay, just place your feet, plant them solidly on the ground below you, then close your eyes. And I just want you to shift your breath to a 4-second in, 5-second out, all through the nose. We're going to take a few minutes and do this exercise. It'll help to sort of connect you with your body. So 4 in, 5 out. And as you're breathing in nice and deep for 4, you're going to feel the expansion of your chest, the oxygen coming in, the fresh air coming into your lungs to feed your body. And as you exhale, you're feeling all of the contraction of your body, your lungs, and you're feeling that stagnant air leave the body. We're going to do this for 5 to 7 cycles. Feeling that breath coming in, again, bringing all that fresh air and oxygen to feed your body, give it what it needs. And as you exhale, you're exhaling all that stagnant air and all the stress of the day. You're letting it go through the nose. And what's going to happen after 5 to 6 breaths is you're going to start to feel this softness within you. And when you feel that softness come in, that's your parasympathetic nervous system kicking in, telling your brain that you're safe in this moment. There's nowhere to be, there's nowhere to go. You're just in this moment. People often think meditation is about eliminating the thoughts in our mind. It's really about focusing the mind. And once you feel that parasympathetic kick in, that sort of softening, that inner quietude, I'm going to invite you to inhale through the nose and hold at the top for a count of 4. And exhale with a sigh through the mouth. Now, just breathing normally with your eyes closed, I'm going to invite you to just place your left hand on your heart and tapping into your heartbeat. Now, some people have a hard time feeling their heart through their chest, so you can go to a pulse point in your neck or on your wrist, whatever feels most comfortable. Really important to connect to your heartbeat here. Ensuring that you have that heartbeat connected. I want you to scan your thoughts without changing them. Just notice them. What's coming up for you? What's there? Now I want you to connect with your body for just a minute. Take a moment to connect to your body. Do a bit of a scan from your head to all the way down to your toes. What are you noticing in your body? You don't need to do anything about it. Just need to notice. Are there areas of tightness, stress? Scanning your emotions now. What's present for you? Again, not needing to do anything about it. And as you connect to that breath coming in and out, I want you to now shift and imagine breathing in through the nose for your breath. Imagine that breath going in and out of your heart. So as your heart's beating, you're breathing into your heart. Breathing in and out intentionally through the nose, in and out through your heart. You're connecting to your heart energy right now. The same energy that's picked up on an ECG when you go to the hospital. You're connecting to that same energy. And I invite you now to imagine a white light sort of sparking up in the middle of your heart right now. And as you breathe in and out, you're expanding that heart light that's starting to get brighter and brighter with every breath. And as you connect with that breath, that beautiful light in the center of your chest getting brighter and brighter, I'll invite you to, on your next exhale, to just bring it all the way down. Bring that light down to your hips, into your feet, into the ground below you, grounding you in this moment. And then when you're ready on the next inhalation, I want you to invite that energy, that white light up to the shoulders, the head, above your head until it's completely surrounding you. That white light is really your energy. If you don't want to see it as a light, you just want to imagine it as an energy field, that's fine. It's your heart field that goes anywhere from 3 to 10 feet from your body. We're tapping into that field so we can tap into your heart's memory, into your heart's center of intelligence. Now that you're completely surrounded, I want you to breathe in what you desire more of in your life. What do you want more of? Is it a feeling? Is it a situation? Is it a person? Do you want more love? Do you want to bring in more forgiveness? What is it you want to bring in your life? Breathing that in. And as you breathe in what you desire, imagine it coming into that light, that energy field that is all around you. Now, as you're breathing in what you desire, you're now going to start to also exhale through the nose what you want to release that is not serving you, that's getting in the way of you being able to receive this. Is it fear, anger, frustration? I want you to imagine breathing in through your chest, breathing in all that is that you want to get in your life and your desired outcome, and then breathe out what's going to get in your way. And as you're repeating this over, I want you to imagine what you want to desire in your mind's eye to remind your brain, your subconscious, that this is what you want. And then gently, I want to ask you to now think about an action item, a step, a process, something that's going to help anchor this experience, something that's going to help to cultivate this desire in your life. What's one thing that you are going to be able to start today? Don't overcomplicate it. The first thought usually is the right one. And as you really clearly identify with this action step, I want you to start thinking now about bringing that energy back towards you. So now you've brought in all the stuff you want into that energy field, and we want to bring it back. So with every breath, over 3 or 4 breaths, imagine bringing that field in just a little bit. Breathe in, breathe out, bring it in a little closer until that breath and that energy is all right back into your heart center. Thanking your heart for everything it gives you, for keeping you alive, for its intelligence, for all the messages that you have received today. And when you're ready, breathe in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then start coming back into the room when you're ready. Flicker your eyes open. So this is a really simple thing. It almost seems too simple, but I do this every day. So Amy, I just want to ask you, how was that for you?
It was great. Yeah, it was different than the first because I've already released things that were bothering me then.
Yep.
I don't have this continuous, heart palpitation, that I've had for so long. I think after doing that, and then between the times that we met, I've been able to really just kind of do this at a moment out on my run and just take a moment and close my eyes out in nature and hear the birds. And I take my phone with me. From time to time, I'll have just very calming music like you had on the session. So this today was really good to kind of continue and just allow myself to release that. And I released some different things, but I'm also seeing continuously what has been holding me back. So that was pretty cool.
What I love about this exercise, it's very simple, but what it does is it connects you to just at such a level that your body. So usually the one thing I say all the time with my clients is never fight what comes to you. So when you have a thought and you're like, no, I can't do that. Don't fight it, because that's your subconscious showing up and saying, this is what you need in this moment. So the feeling, when I ask people, what's the feeling? And when we do this one-to-one, by the way, I'll ask people, didn't want to do it today because it's public, but I usually ask them, what's that feeling? What are you looking to curate? And I have the person repeat it. It's more impactful because as you speak it, it can sometimes conjure up emotion for a person. But this is something you can simply do on your own. Like I said, in the mornings, if you want to place your intention. So instead of really bringing in what you want, you can say, or desire in terms of feeling, it could just simply be, I have this big event today and I just need to be calm. I'm going to intend that I'm going to be calm. It's going to be amazing. Right. And I'm going to exhale the fear and the fear speaking. And you just do that as your intention, because here's the magic is, as you're doing this with your heart, your brain, your subconscious goes, oh, so you want to be calm. You want the situation. It's the Volkswagen effect. If you buy a Volkswagen, suddenly Volkswagens are everywhere. Your brain's looking for patterns. So it's going to look for ways and opportunities to help keep you calm rather than creating chaos for you. So it's just a way of connecting to the brain in such a way where you're essentially giving it an order, for lack of better words. Hey, brain, guess what? Body wants this. So when you're doing this exercise, it helps to really connect the dots. So again, it seems very simple, but I promise you that if you do this regularly and you go for that thing that you want in there, you will be surprised what will show up for you. It's amazing. And if you want a more powerful experience in that and experience what Amy's done, then of course, connect with me or go to my link tree or what have you to do that. And if you're part of Amy's community, I'm going to say this up. I have not shared this with you, but there'll be deeply discounted rates. So if you join her community, I'll have group offerings for Amy's, just for Amy's group. So just putting that out there. If this is something you're thinking about and you're like, I don't know if I want to spend money on this or whatever, don't worry about it. Amy and I will work on something as a group to enable this so that you guys can participate in something very intense and more magical. So yeah, do consider joining her community for all sorts of good reasons, but this will be one of the reasons, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is fantastic. Another thing that really kind of started coming to my mind the first time I did it, and it popped up again, was, I've always been able to set boundaries, in my life, either with myself, then with others, but also just, the people I want to be around, the music I need to listen to, the birds I need to hear, the run I need to take every morning to get that fresh air, putting my bare feet on the ground in the beginning of the morning, taking these deep breaths. I have such a different day by doing that as if I don't do it. And I think this right here, we'll talk a lot more about it in the group, and then really expound on your ability to just, I think, get your mind in alignment. And you really, it's like we go to a chiropractor to get our body in alignment. We need to get our emotions in alignment and have that mind change and that mind frame change. But I'll guarantee you, this will transform anyone's life, and whatever it'll do for you is what it's going to do for you uniquely. And that's such a cool thing. So,
and Amy, I just want to say one last thing. I love the outdoors. So if you can do this with your feet planted on soil, it has to be on soil, not cement.
Yep.
If you're doing it on grass, soil, sand, rock, whatever, it's just connecting to that earth's resonance. It amplifies this experience, amplifies it.
Yeah, it does. And even though I have just now begun, I remember even this morning standing on the ground outside after I had ran, and it's taking the pains from my body. I work out because it's a stress reliever for me. It puts me in a really good emotional headspace, but also it's been really cool to realize, kind of taking some breaths and doing these things, standing on the ground. Like I'm not having those body pains that I did. I mean, so whatever it's, going to do for you, just, I can't wait to hear what this does for other people. And I can't wait to continue. So guys, if you want to join the community, it's launching this week. It's going to be fantastic, safe place to share. Tammy, where can people find you? And we're going to have all of this on the social media where they can find you as well. But for right now, people listening out there, where can they learn more if they want to jump online today and they're really interested?
Yeah. So I think what we're going to do in the show notes is make sure you have a Linktree link. The Linktree is the best place to find me because simply I'm in the middle of rebrand. However, my future website will be executiveexhale.com. So that will be the future website. So if you're listening to this in the future, executiveexhale.com will be where you'll be able to find me. But for the time being, going to a Linktree link is probably the best bet because that's where my active offers are. That's where my active socials are. So everything will be there for you to find me. And you can just connect with Amy and she'll connect the dots too.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Tammy, thank you so much for today. It's
been
amazing. We have just scraped the surface of what this can do. And so I hope everybody just joins us moving forward. Thank you, everybody that logged in online and love this. They loved it, said it was great. Share more. I mean, if people want to, reach out, I would love to hear if they've ever done this before and then kind of what their experience was. I get the biggest smile on my face when I hear that people are doing things to decrease that anxiety and that stress and breaking out of their isolation or their fear or whatever has been happening, and just continue to share. That's what we all need. And I needed that for so many years to just get me, to the next place in my life. So Tammy, thank you. We can't wait to have you on the show more and hear more about how powerful this is for people. And the more we share, guys, the more this is going to help the next person realize that this might be able to help them and that it's okay to take that step and maybe share their story and maybe try it as well. But if you guys don't talk about it and you don't share, you don't know how many people's lives that you can transform just by just sharing.
Yeah.
So I encourage you guys to do that. So thank you for your time again today. Advocacy and Hope, we're here for you. Great community. We can't wait to see what's next. But the streaming was wonderful this morning, and wow, so powerful. So we'll see Tammy again soon. But thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.